All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's football season right around the corner. Games have already started. More games coming up this weekend. I'm Andy Everett. I am the host of today's show. I'm also the voice of the UTSA Roadrunners, and I host my afternoon show on Ticket 760. It's my pleasure to be your MC today as today's luncheon and cooler temperatures tell us that football season is finally back in San Antonio. To lead us in the invocation, please welcome Todd Johnson, San Antonio Metro Director of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
All right, would you join me in acknowledging and giving thanks? Dear God, we acknowledge and give you thanks for being the giver of every good and perfect gift. We give you thanks for the different gifts, abilities, and opportunity that you've given to each person in this room. But we ask that you would find us faithful and be good stewards of all you've entrusted us. And we thank you in advance for the endless hours and the hard work to make this year's Valero Alamo Bowl possible. And we ask that you'd give them wisdom, discernment, and great success in all their endeavors. God, as we gather today in anticipation for the upcoming game and the surrounding festivities, maybe we be reminded of the ultimate celebration you prepared for those who love you. We close by saying thank you for all you've done, are going to do. We ask that you bless our lives and give thanks for this food. We love you and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Todd. All right, PNC is not only the title sponsor of today's luncheon, but they're also the top supporter of the Bowl's Extra Yard for Teachers program. Please enjoy your Rudy's Barbecue, Tiff's Treats, and H-E-B Creamy Creations ice cream as we watch a recap of the 30 deserving teachers we surprised this year with grants last year. And we're excited to grow the program each year as well. So as this video is playing, we will bring to the stage Regional President Chris Sherman from PNC.
We're honoring the 30 best teachers in San Antonio. You'll receive a $500 scholarship for your classroom, as well as tickets to you and your family to the Valero Alamo Bowl.
This has been just an amazing honor. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Are you surprised?
Yes. I was like, what is going on?
We need robots. We're getting robots. We're getting robots.
What should we spend $500 on, guys? What do you want? A picture of you.
Thank you, guys. You're really making dreams come true for me too. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you today and kick off the college football season. Those Extra Yard for Teacher celebrations are always really fun, and I'm really excited to celebrate our 4th year of partnership with the Valero Alamo Bowl and the Extra Yard for Teachers program. Every year, I look forward to doing those classroom visits. It's always a lot of fun and usually the best part of my day. And I'm always amazed at how thoughtful the teachers are in how they're going to use the grant funds to support their classrooms and their children's learning experience. Like Mrs. Bryson, a Redlands Oaks elementary teacher. She needed materials for her pre-K through 5th grade special needs students. This was a group of students who are ready to learn despite some of the challenges they face. They had recently moved into a new classroom, and she wanted to fill it with educational materials to build on the reading, writing, and math skills. The Extra Yard for Teachers program grant was able to help Mrs. Bryson set up that classroom for success and make a positive difference in the lives of his students. And that's the goal here at PNC, to make a positive difference here in San Antonio. We succeed when our community succeeds. And we leverage the power of our national resources to support important organizations like the Valero Alamo Bowl and to help individuals, families, and businesses achieve their financial goals. Thank you all for being here today and supporting the Valero Alamo Bowl. Have a great day.
All right, thank you, Chris. And many of our bowl partners are coming up today as well, and you'll see them acknowledged on the video screens. So as they come up, we will bring you today's associate sponsors who help provide resources for the Bowl's community outreach. ESPN, EY, Gold's Gym, HEB, News Radio 1200 WOAI, PWC, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, San Antonio Area Chevy Dealers, the San Antonio Business Journal, Texas Mutual Insurance, Ticket 760, Tiff Treats, and Valero, the title sponsor of the Valero Alamo Bowl. The success of our event is directly tied to the Valero's long-term support. So please join me in thanking them now as we welcome Gary Simmons, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer.
Well, thank you, Andy. And thanks to all of you for joining us to help kick off this year's college football season. Special thanks to PNC for sponsoring this great event. Chris, we appreciate your continued support of the Valero Alamo Bowl. I'd also like to thank ESPN for bringing your talented team of analysts and your expert insights into the upcoming season. We're excited to have ESPN analyst Fozzy Whittaker with us here today and look forward to your comments. Valero has been the title sponsor of the Alamo Bowl since 2007. It's a partnership that reflects our deep commitment to San Antonio. For more than 40 years, this city has been our home, with our 1,800 employees contributing to its strength. Whether it's hosting iconic events like the Valero Alamo Bowl or the Valero Texas Open, or volunteering thousands of hours and donating millions of dollars to charity, we're proud to give back to the community where we live and work. The Valero Alamo Bowl has become a beloved holiday tradition, bringing in nearly $60 million in economic impact last year alone, and awarding over $12 million in scholarships to more than 1,900 students since the Bowl's inception. We're proud to support this tradition and look forward to seeing you back here in the Dome on December the 30th. Thank you.
Thanks again to Valero. All right, we thank them for their support and all the initiatives that they do in the community. As we welcome J.P. Limbaugh, the 2025 Valero Alamo Bowl treasurer, to the podium, let's watch a recap of last year's game.
Wow. Who else is excited for some football and the chance to do that again? Last year was special, but what makes the Valero Alamo Bowl truly remarkable is its consistency. Every year, our event delivers a memorable game with a meaningful impact for our community. Thank you, Gary and the Valero team. Your support has fueled our growth in charitable giving and team payouts, bringing outstanding matchups that drive visitation to San Antonio. Our board is also proud that the Valero Alamo Bowl is #1 in local scholarship giving among all bowl games and annually selects winners from every high school and university in San Antonio. This December, we'll announce the 100 high school seniors who will split $750,000 in scholarships. Today, we're excited to recognize 80 outstanding college students sharing $510,000 in scholarship awards. While many of the recipients are in class, as they should be, I want to ask all the winners and school administrators who are here to stand now. Please wave when your school is called. Our Lady of the Lake University. Any saints in the building? St. Mary's University. Please wave if any Rattlers are here today. Texas A&M San Antonio. There you are. How about any Trinity Tigers in the building? University of the Incarnate Word? All right. And any Roadrunners from UTSA? All right. Birds up. Please join me in a round of applause to congratulate these winners and thank our university partners for matching our donations. Your support today, thank you. Your support today and for all the events on the bowl calendar allows us to annually grow our positive impact in our community. On behalf of our board of directors, thank you for attending today's PNC Pigskin Preview. Thank you.
All right, thank you, JP. It's time to meet our panelists and turn up the excitement for this college football season by introducing them here today, as everybody is still undefeated in week 1. Our moderator is KSAT Sports Director Larry Ramirez, who is celebrating his 21st year at KSAT. We also have Derrick Fox, the president and CEO of the Valero Alamo Bowl. He has led the bowl game since its inception, raising the bowl's profile from the 18th ranked game out of 18 back in that first year to one of the top bowl games outside of the college football playoff. And joining them is ESPN college football analyst Fozzy Whittaker. A Houston native, Fozzy started at Pearland High School, graduating as the 6th leading rusher in Texas 5A history before becoming a versatile playmaker for Texas. After graduating, Fozzy spent 6 years in the NFL before joining the Longhorn Network in 2019 and now appearing on ESPN's national college football coverage. Larry, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Derrick, and thank you, Fozzy, for joining all of us here today. It's always a wonderful day and a wonderful atmosphere for sure. Now, before we talk about the start of the season and the 40 hours of college football on TV from tomorrow through Monday, Fozzy, I want to ask you about your high school career and a stellar one at that. So these numbers sound made up, but they're not. In 3 years playing for the Pearland Oilers, you rushed for 5,717 yards and 64 touchdowns. In one game, you rushed for 415 yards. What are your favorite memories from your time in high school?
Actually, one of my favorite memories, and by the way, I don't want this to be too boring, but 40 hours to me is not enough.
Not enough, right?
I could use a couple more hours on top of that. One of my favorite memories, though, is where it all started. I actually played my very first varsity high school football game here in the Alamodome for Dave Campbell's Classic football kickoff. I actually got the opening kickoff my sophomore year in 2004. I did not score, but I made it past half midfield, and so I got halfway past the the field positioning, and that allowed our team to score on the very first drive. So I have very positive memories of playing here in high school to kick off my varsity career at Pearland.
And I bet that you remember that like it happened yesterday.
Not quite.
Not quite?
Not quite. It gets a little fuzzy. I've taken one too many shots to the head.
Well, do you remember your top 2 rushing efforts in high school? 415 yards and 4 touchdowns and a win over Clear Creek, and then 361 yards and 5 touchdowns and a win against Sugarland Dulles.
I actually do remember those.
Okay.
The funny thing, so the Clear Creek game brings up memories because my offensive coordinator, his name was Eric Wells, he asked me after the game, he said, "Do you know what you just did?" And I said, "No, man, I'm tired." And I've never ran for 415 yards, and the big thing that I always used to do after a football game is get a milkshake. And so he told me, "You ran for 415 yards." I said, "Man, that's great. My offensive line is who did the work. I just want a milkshake." And that was literally my end of discussion. They took a picture. I went to Whataburger and got me a milkshake.
Did the O-line get milkshakes as well?
I got them one the following week.
Okay, very cool, because they definitely deserve it, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, with those video game numbers, was your college recruitment as crazy as I imagine?
You know, ironically, it wasn't very crazy. Nowadays, with social media, college recruitment is all over the place. People have their commitment videos, and they're dancing or jumping into a pool and things like that nature. I was not as savvy or as in creative as some of those guys. Mm-hmm. My very first offer came from Oklahoma State. My second offer came from LSU, and it's ironically my quarterback at the time, his name was Sam Proctor. We both mentioned that we would go take our official visits together, and we would decide on what school we were going to go to together, kind of like a package deal. And I get my third offer from the University of Texas. Mac Brown brought me into his office, and my family and one of my other buddies. And it was an awesome experience. It was genuine. It was true. He and his wife laid it out on the line. It's like, this is where we expect you. This is how you fit into our scheme and our program. And we think you'd be part of this family. So would you be a part of our family? And so I go back to my quarterback buddy, Sam. Mm-hmm. I said, "Hey, man, Texas just offered me." And he's like, "Oh, bro, awesome. Congrats. Like, when are we going to take our trip to LSU?" And I tell him a couple of days later, I let it settle. I was like, I don't know. I played it cool. A week later, I said, "Hey, bro, I know we had an agreement said, but I think I'm going to call Coach Brown tonight and tell him I'm committing." We were at CC's Pizza. I remember this exactly.
Okay.
At CC's Pizza, we like to eat all the pizza crust, or eat all the pizza, leave the crust, and build up a pile to see how high we can get it, right? And I said, "Hey, I know we just built this mountain of crust together, but I think I'm going to go in the bathroom and call Coach Brown and tell him I'm going to go commit." He knocked over all the pizza crusts and said, "What, the betrayal?"
Right.
And I committed, and I knew that was the spot for me. And despite kind of going back on my word of going to all these official visits with him as a duo, I think it worked out very well for the both of us.
Did you say you called Coach Brown from the bathroom?
I went to the bathroom.
Okay.
Because the music was playing at
Okay.
CC's.
All right.
If you've been to CC's, y'all know how it gets down. It's probably not the same as it used to be whenever I was a high school kid, but CC's get down, the arcade be popping. Like, it was the spot to be, at least in Pearland, especially after a football game. Oh, my goodness. Don't get caught in there.
Fozzy, what makes Mac so special to you?
To me, Coach Mac Brown is a truly special individual. I was speaking with Derrick and speaking with Miss Julie, and we were talking yesterday about how impactful and intentional he is of a man. Okay. And one example of that is, no matter when you've met Coach Brown, he can remember who you are by your face and then also call you by your name. And I've seen it many of times, but somebody that he hadn't seen in 10 years, Coach Brown will walk right up to them as if they had a conversation last week, talk to them, introduce himself again, and call them by their name, say, "Hey, good to see you. I hope everything's well." He'll rattle off your kid's name, even though you only told him one time. And it was a truly special talent that he possessed. as showing his charisma and being genuine and authentically that type of person. It wasn't a show,
Sure.
right? Some people you can feel whenever it's fake. I didn't feel that way with Coach Brown, and being kind of the youngest of 2 older brothers and 3 total boys. My mom finally getting the last one out of the house, you know, she had some precautions about where I went to school. Both of my older brothers went to school locally, U of H and TSU in Houston. And so me kind of being the first one to venture out a little bit further than they did, she was definitely nervous. And that first time we sat in that meeting room with Coach Brown and his wife, Sally Brown, and they just mentioned how they take care of the guys when they come into the program and how it's not just another number from a scholarship perspective or somebody that can just help you win football games, but they want to see the development of the man and the character that you possess, as well as being kind of inundated into what their family values and core practices are. And I think that really stood out to me, and I saw that play out with the teams whenever I was getting recruited in 2005 and 2006. And that ultimately encouraged me to say, hey, this is the spot that I want to continue to grow, be a man, learn how to be a man, and then ultimately further my football career.
I've heard other players say that about Mac Brown as well. And a couple times I've met him, very genuine. So, hey, Fozzy, if you look all the way down to the north end zone, we can see how far 100 yards is. You set a Longhorn record with a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in back-to-back games against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Let's watch those now before we have you talk about it. Yeah, impressive. Hey, the one during the Red River rivalry had to be special.
It was. The first thing I want to say is take that, Gary, wherever Gary's at. They got the last laugh, though. They won, so I can't talk too much. But it was special. The funny thing about that is I was the off returner, and if you all are familiar with kind of how special teams work, you usually have a primary returner, the guy that usually you want to catch the ball and take it the distance. DJ Monroe was the primary returner. He had already taken a couple of kickoffs in his career back to the house, so they wanted to get the ball to him from a return team perspective. From Oklahoma's perspective, they like, oh, this guy has already shown he can return kickoffs to the house. We're going to kick it to the other guy that doesn't necessarily return kicks too often. I'm usually blocking, and so they kicked it on my side of the field, and I called DJ off. I said, hey, I got it. And the rest was history. I was able to score that touchdown to help try to swing some momentum. And after that game, my special teams coordinator said, hey, I know you were the off returner, but I think we're going to put you as the main returner. And the following week was the Oklahoma State kickoff return.
Yeah, so did Oklahoma State not watch tape or what?
So the funny thing about that is they watched tape. I think they knew the rules that were supposed to happen because my coach had always told me if I catch it deeper than 2 yards within the end zone, just take a knee, right? Get good field position. Don't worry about, having bad field position. That Oklahoma State kick was 5 yards deep in the end zone, and I took it out. And the thing in my head that just kept playing and playing and playing until I finally scored on that touchdown was, I better not mess this up, because coach told me if it's past 2 yards, you better not take it out. So my mindset was like, yeah, I got to come home and score if I want to be able to do this again. And so thankfully everything worked out. I was able to score. And ironically, after the game, I spoke with the coordinator, the special teams coordinator for Oklahoma State. And this was later down, like years after, whenever I was playing in the NFL. And he said, hey, I was the special teams coordinator for that game. You weren't supposed to take that out, were you? And I said, nah, you knew our rules, but I felt like our team needed a spark, and if I was going to get in trouble, it wasn't going to be because I didn't try to make a play.
Exactly, and a spark you did provide. Hey, Fozzy, the first Longhorns appearance in the Valero Alamo Bowl was in 2006. Freshman quarterback Colt McCoy threw for 308 yards, including a 72-yarder to Jamal Charles to win the game. What do you tell people about your time playing with Colt McCoy?
Yeah, Colt was a transcendent type of player. He was truly one of the people that can galvanize a team. And I think that's an uncanny characteristic that not everybody shares at the quarterback position. And let's get an example, right? I want some crowd participation. How many of you all picked vanilla ice cream? Raise your hand. All right, higher. Okay. How many of you all picked chocolate? This is a judge-free zone, by the way, judge-free. How many of you all picked chocolate ice cream? There we go. All right. Now, here's where I say Colt McCoy was great, because the people that would raise their hands for vanilla, Colt McCoy could make you eat chocolate. And the people that raise their hands for chocolate, Colt McCoy could make you eat vanilla, or at least turn it into a swirl, right? Okay. That's what I mean by galvanizing the locker room. You got to think, with so many people from different backgrounds coming into a locker room, right? You got people from Houston, Dallas, East Texas, out of the country, people from the sticks, people from the boondocks, people from cities that you ain't never heard before, right? From all different cultures, different colors, right? There's a mixture, a hodgepodge, more than just vanilla and chocolate ice cream. But what made Colt so special was he would have like team-only meetings led by him, and he would get an opportunity to have people tell the team about themselves so that we get an understanding of who we were playing for and who we were playing with. And then he would continuously do that multiple times throughout the course of the season. So it wasn't just like a one-time gimmick or something that Coach Brown had to force and say, hey, we're going to do this one time. No, Coach did that authentically, and I think that's how you build a true leader that people look up to and elevate the game of others around him.
Definitely a true leader. Would you guys have won the national championship in 2009 if he didn't get hurt?
Absolutely. No questions about it.
No doubt.
That Alabama team was really good, but if we had Colt, I mean, we were down 3 points, 24-21, after Garrett came in as a true freshman, never having seen significant amount of snaps, with the chance to go either tie the ball game up or win it with about 6 minutes left in that game, and we had already turned the ball over 3 times. So if we had Colt, I think we definitely would have an opportunity to win against Alabama in that game.
You know, guys, this year could add to the long list of star quarterbacks making their mark in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Let's watch a season preview of the teams that could be playing in San Antonio. Awesome highlights, and I'm digging the soundtrack, Derrick. So, Derrick, it's your time to shine. There were, again, 24 teams from 4 different conferences in that video. Last year, you correctly told us the ability to pick the top teams outside the CFP from the 2 pools would create entertaining matchups. Can you update us on Bowls team selection rights?
Absolutely. We've got the same selection rights this year. We've got the first choice of teams from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 pool. So those teams that are former Pac-12 members playing in other conferences now are all part of our pool. So it was really kind of an interesting situation 2 years ago when the Pac-12 imploded. And we were able to get all the conferences together, the 4 conferences together, and come up with a solution that basically provided us with the same selection rights we had, and even to some extent more flexibility than we had before, and not negatively impact any other bowls with selection rights around us. So last year is a good example. Looking at BYU versus Colorado, taking teams weren't within one game of each other, but actually technically Big 12 members, so a little funky last year, but they didn't play each other. Well, lo and behold, they come in. We have a Heisman Trophy winner. We have 8 million viewers who watched the game on ESPN. We had a sellout crowd of 64,000 plus. So it just goes to show you don't know what's going in, but every year is unique and different, and that's what makes it so fun and so special. 2 of those teams will be playing this year again in this year's Valero Alamo Bowl. We look forward to another exciting game, but we're kicking off the season. Everybody, except a couple up there because they played in the 0 weekend, undefeated, and really looking forward to a great year. A lot of depth, a lot of balance this year, a lot of great teams, so we look forward to another great game.
And Derrick, what does the future look like, the possibility, SEC, Big Ten?
No problem, right on the spot. Yes, typically, if things were in a normal situation, you'd probably have your deals done with your conferences for 26 and beyond as you kick off the 25 season. But things are not typical in college athletics these days. Lots going on. And really what we're waiting for right now is the CFP to make their decision on just how big the CFP will be. It's currently a 12-team playoff. Inevitably, it will probably grow, going to guess to 16 at that point in time. And then really we have a chance to have a conversation with the conferences. So really what we're doing now started 2 years ago when the Pac-12 imploded, put together this deal, really gave us we were kind of in the bowl portal, for lack of a better term, and really talking to all the conferences to say, hey, would you be interested in playing the Valero Alamo Bowl? And the response is, yes, we'd love to. So it's like, let's continue that dialogue, both short term, 24 and 25, to come up with the solution you saw there, and also 26 and beyond. So the beauty of it is the Valero Alamo Bowl and San Antonio have a tremendous reputation out there. Thanks to support like each and every one of you in this room to make last year's stats and our historical stats possible, independent of the teams. But our future is very bright, and we look forward to the CFP making a decision so we can be on the clock to make our decision going forward too.
Love it. Fozzy, 9 of the last 11 Valero Alamo Bowls have featured a top 25 matchup. Looking at the Big 12 and Pac-12 pools and the AP poll, what are your thoughts about these rankings, knowing Iowa State will be moving up after beating Kansas State in Ireland?
Yeah, I think this is the perfect pinnacle place to be able to play. If you're not in the CFP, this is the number 1 bowl game that you want to play in. Number 1, the hospitality. Number 2, the viewers that it brings. And then number 3, the caliber of opponent that you get to play against, right? You play college football to play against the best. And that opportunity presents itself whenever you get to come to the Alamo Bowl. And you look at on the screen right now, Kansas State, Iowa State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Arizona State. And then you have others in that selection list that will eventually be considered as well. The Big 12 has, in my opinion, the best parity in college football for a conference right now. And so there are a number of Big 12 teams that can end up being in that pool and selected right outside of that CFP kind of race. And Kansas State probably fits that mold now since they took that first loss. But I believe Kansas State will be really good. But it's a bunch of teams that are really, really good and just can't quite get to that elite level. And that's where this plays in to pick the best teams that create the best matchup, in my opinion.
The parity, why do you feel that way about the Big 12?
Well, number 1, who's going to win the Big 12? If you go ask every single person here, there's probably a different answer.
Sure.
All right? And the thing about it is there's no true, clear front runner. And maybe people say Iowa State because we saw them last week and they have 1 win, and that's a conference victory. But truly, it's anybody's ball game, right? What's Utah going to be this year? How good can Colorado be having a restack? What about Kalani Sitake? They just won it a year ago. What's the expectations for there? And then obviously Arizona State, who made it into the CFP and won last year as the last ranked media poll team. 16 out of 16 is where they were predicted, and then they come out on top. So I think it's the most parity because it has the most opportunity for somebody to be a surprise and somebody to really get on the run and showcase who they can be from a national perspective.
And Derrick, last year was the first season of a 12-team playoff. What changes were made for 2025, and what's the future hold?
Great question. Well, the biggest change made this year was the top 4 teams now are the top 4 ranked teams. Common sense, right? As opposed to the top 4 highest ranked teams as they had last year, conference champions. So that's the biggest switch this year. Additionally, they just announced last week, you'll see they made an additional consideration on strength of schedule. That's important not only for this year in seeding the process, but also been a bone of contention on the expanded playoff going forward. One of the things is not all conferences play 9 conference games. Some play 8, some play 9. SEC announced last week they're going to go to 9 games. You can anticipate the ACC going to 9. That kind of levels that playing field and takes that conversation off the table and has a reset. So that's really what's going on now. So if you look at the slides you have here, take the first one was the top 12 playoff, so same as last year. We're going to use last week's AP poll, so we don't have anything else to use this week because it's just going into week 1. And go ahead and run the slide forward one more time, and you can see what those matchups would look like. So Texas on down as far as the number 1 team, so it goes by ranking this year, not necessarily the 4 highest ranked conference champions. And then obviously you can see the matchups there in front of you. So another exciting year, another 12-team playoff. First round games are hosted on the home campuses of the highest ranked team. So exciting games last year. We're looking forward to exciting matchups again this year. And really, we've over the last few years, even with the 12-team playoff, we've always had 12 teams basically being selected before we selected anyway. Because the New Year's 6 bowl games, you had 4 were in the playoffs, but the other 8 were in the traditional New Year's 6 bowl games. So it didn't really mathematically impact us from that perspective, but sometimes some of the selections did impact us. Again, that's why going back to having the choice of teams outside of those conferences is huge for us to try to put together the matchup each and every year here in the Valero Alamo Bowl.
And Derrick, do you guys feel the Valero Alamo Bowl will get its normal top 20 matchup?
Guaranteed. Fozzy's here. He said guaranteed. Well, we've been a pretty good run. I think our average right now is 14 versus 15 in the CFP era. So again, you can look at it. Is a glass half full or half empty, right? Those teams did not make the CFP. They're not playing for the national championship. So you think, oh, disappointed, not playing for national championship. Look at last year's Valero Alamo Bowl. Those teams came in hungry. We had the Heisman Trophy winner, and his coach from the opening bell said, "What are you talking about, opt-outs? We are bringing everybody, and everybody's going to play." It goes to show you, I think last year we had all 10 Heisman Trophy finalists played in every single bowl game. So there was a lot of talk about that in recent years. Oh, if you're not in the championship game, not in the CFP, why play? This is a case where NIL's probably helped. The contracts are drafted up now. You need to play through your entire season. That does benefit the postseason as well. So it's a great situation, and just kind of a quick perspective on what's going on.
Fozzy, here's one that should be near and dear to your heart. What was your reaction when Texas came out ranked number 1, given they opened the season Saturday at 11 in the morning on the road at number 3, Ohio State?
I was actually a little surprised with the amount of turnover that Texas had over the past couple of years and the talent that they lost. The expectations are super high, obviously, and Arch Manning, I think, would be a phenomenal quarterback for the University of Texas, but I thought there could have been more deserving teams that could warrant that number 1 spot. You look at Penn State, the number of players that they have coming back, and then the caliber of those players, I thought they could have been warranted as the number 1 team. You look at Clemson as well. All right, you got Cade Klubnik, the receivers coming back around him, and then the defensive players that they also bring back, preseason All-Americans. I thought they could have been warranted number 1 along with Texas. So I was a little surprised, but at the end of the day, I think it's part of the expectations that Steve Sarkisian has been able to make so far of building up the program where Texas was irrelevant for almost 15 years after I stopped playing, and now he's brought them back to relevancy and in the national conversation yearly.
Have you seen enough of Arch Manning to know what he's going to do Saturday?
I don't think so. We have not seen Arch in a capacity playing full-time starter against an elite defense. And I know Ohio State lost a ton of people as well, but one of the things that Ohio State has always been is elite. And it doesn't matter what year you're talking about, they're constantly in the Big Ten championship race, and they're constantly in the national conversation as one of the best teams in the country. And then you put that together where they did have the best defense a year ago. There's still going to be some holdover, and changes with Matt Patricia probably affect that. But at the end of the day, their track record shows that they're going to be a disciplined, athletic, and really, really good team, not just on the defensive side of the ball, but overall. And so seeing Arch never going through something of that nature, that caliber as a full-time starter, there's some hesitancy from that perspective.
Gotcha.
But what I think I hold a little bit of solace to is what Steve Sarkisian has been able to show me. In the same vein that Ohio State has done it, Sark on the offensive side of the ball has been able to showcase he can be very successful no matter what defense you kind of throw out there. But you got to win at the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
If you win at the line of scrimmage, you give Sark a chance. And I think truly that's where Arch Manning has to continue to put his trust in, is his 4 new offensive linemen, and then go showcase kind of what he can do, because he has, in my opinion, one of the best skill sets as a quarterback to be able to create plays, throw the ball downfield accurately, and win on those off-schedule types of plays.
Now let's switch over to Texas Tech, Fozzy. The Red Raiders were the most aggressive school in the country this offseason with their NIL spending. It netted them the highest-rated transfer class as they added 22 talented players. Will they be able to be successful on board with these players to win the Big 12 and make the CFP?
Ooh, that's a big question. The number one thing I want to talk about first is Joey Juice, right?
Joey Juice,
I love Joey McGuire. And you can see why other people love him as well, right? You don't get 22 people of that caliber from the transfer portal with guys that don't believe in what you're doing, with guys that don't have investment in what you're doing. And they're making renovations to the stadium, to the practice facility. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes giving back and being a focal part of what they're trying to do. Cody Campbell obviously plays a big part in that as well. But Joey Juice is where it all starts. In the same way I view Mac Brown in that high regard and that high respect, that's what these Texas Tech players are saying about Joey McGuire, how authentic he is. And every time that I've had a conversation with him, he's been extremely authentic, and he's going to provide some juice, which is why his nickname is Joey Juice. For them to be able to compete in the Big 12 and then compete for a CFP, they're going to have to gel. They're going to have to mesh together. Baron Morton is the quarterback, and I mentioned briefly a little bit earlier how Colt was able to galvanize a team from all different cultures and backgrounds. Well, that's Baron Morton's job as well, right? You bring in 22 new faces, and that's just from the transfer portal. We're not talking about the high school students that also will be key contributors to the success that Texas Tech is expected to have. So they have to be able to gel together. You can do that in the offseason with today's time frame, but it takes time, and it's going to take intentionality of being around each other, learning each other, and really trusting and believing that we can get the job done. So I have high hopes for Joey Juice in the Big 12. I think they have a great opportunity to win the Big 12 and be in the CFP. But I also think that about so many different teams within the Big 12 because of that parity.
Thank you for that, Fozzy. So before we talk more about this year's game, let's watch some star players and memorable moments from past Valero Alamo Bowls. Fozzy, do you have any connections with any of the players in that video or memories from watching past Valero Alamo Bowls?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I want to say I was able to come back as a retired NFL player and watch the Alamo Bowl where Texas played against Utah.
Okay.
And that was a great game, went all the way down to the wire. Texas ends up winning, so that made it even better, or at least for me. Hopefully no Utah fans in here, but it's okay. But it was a cool environment, cool experience. I got to see my first bowl game outside of being a football player, and kind of everything that goes into it just gave me a greater and deeper appreciation for everything that unfolds leading up to the game, and then the game itself, and then all the festivities that happen afterwards. There was a small little snippet, though, that really gave me chills and kind of gave me flashbacks from a player that played. His name was Robert Griffin III. If you all are familiar with football and Baylor football, you probably know who he is. The year we played him, he won the Heisman Trophy. And he might have won it by beating our brakes, boy. We got destroyed. And they had some absolute ballers on that team. And seeing that clip of RG3 doing what he did against literally everybody that year, it kind of takes me back to down memory lane of some of the great players that have come through the Alamodome.
Fozzy, under head coach Jeff Traylor, UTSA is 29-3 here at the Alamodome, and I know you have friends on that coaching staff, and you've been there for some of their wins. This year, they opened the season on the road against Texas A&M this Saturday night. What are your thoughts on the Roadrunners?
Yeah, first off, I got to meet the mayor of San Antonio today. So can I give a shout out to Frank Harris?
Frank Harris, right? I knew
Frank
that's who you were
Harris, where is he
about.
at? Frank, where you at? Raise your hand. I see him back there. Shout out to Frank Harris. One of the greatest road runners to play for UTSA and Jeff Traylor. That 29-3 record is a lot of that had to do with what Frank Harris did. So I had to give him a shout out. I got to meet him earlier. I had one of my friends, Roderick Wright, was on the defensive line as a defensive line coach here during that time frame. I got to watch actually one of the games as well here in the Alamodome that resulted in a win in a bowl game as well that I got to go support a couple of my buddies. So I got to see Frank Harris do what he does so well in that UTSA uniform. But going to College Station obviously is a tall task, right? Mike Elko has something to prove. Year one for him, it could be viewed as a disappointment, but at the same time, if you know college football and if you know football in general, transition, it typically takes time. And we're talking about Texas being rated preseason AP and coaches poll as the #1 team, but that's because it took 4 years of Steve Sarkisian building up that foundation to be able to get to where they are starting off at year number 5, and then they still have to uphold their end of the bargain. I see Texas A&M in a similar type of fashion, right? It's not the lack of resources. It's not the lack of talent. It's not what they are lacking. They have everything. They just have to find the correct leader to put it together. And on the flip opposite side, I think Jeff Traylor is a phenomenal leader for what UTSA has stood for and what they continue and plan on doing. And I compare Jeff Traylor's authenticity to the same way I compare Mac Brown's authenticity, right? Whenever he says something, he means it. Whenever he talks about a family type of atmosphere, and I've talked to him about these things, he truly means it. He's genuine in that aspect. And I think for me, in a time where there's so much fake around, and we don't know if it's AI made, man, it ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. Sticking by somebody that's genuine and authentic always means more than something that can just be fabricated through an app.
That's for sure. Hey, Derrick, the Alamodome has been very good to UTSA and the Valero Alamo Bowl. The most talked about news story in San Antonio lately is about Project Marvel. I've seen you take an active role in speaking to the city council and the media. What's been your message?
Let's do this. I mean, it's been on the books for 3 years now, so it didn't just happen overnight. I think there's a little visual we'll show you here. But what a transformational project and what excitement that we can have for our community. Look at that. Is that not awesome or what? I mean, we have people, we talked about the media earlier, year in and year out, you hear the media when they leave from the place like the Final Four, they go, San Antonio ought to be the home of the Final Four every year. And we're like, well, yeah, no kidding, right? Well, here you have and envision this. a renovated Alamodome. We haven't even gotten to that part of the project yet. Look at that land bridge over the freeway. Brand new, state-of-the-art Spurs Arena, obviously a topic of conversation in the last couple of weeks, but City Council has proceeded the go button on that one to continue the conversations and hopefully come up to a term sheet. Expanded convention center, and oh, by the way, just at the edge of this is the Riverwalk. So this is going to reinvigorate downtown. It's not only going to bring benefits to the local community. Look at the jobs it will generate when these projects do come to fruition, because they are going to come to fruition, and that's going to be all of our job to make sure it happens. This is just not a vision. Let's make it a reality. We can sit here and talk about it, but this has got to happen. If San Antonio says to the 7th largest city in the country, then let's act like it and let's make this happen. So with that, we look forward selfishly to kind of going to the other side of the freeway and dressing up the Alamodome in the future, because that means we're going to have other opportunities. I guarantee you, if the Dome done correctly, as things are working on now, it's not first on the priority, the Spurs Arena is, but a renovated Alamodome to the level that's necessary will bring us the opportunity for a Final Fours, will bring us the opportunities for future CFP games, and a whole host of other events that can come to San Antonio and generate annual economic impact that drives business to San Antonio.
Fozzy.
As long as Derrick gets me some tickets, I'm all right with that.
Fozzy, I want to ask you about a different Marvel, Captain America.
Uh-huh.
I heard that this was very important to you growing up.
Yeah. So ironically, I grew up as a DC fan to begin with. My mom was huge into the Justice League, and it would come on Cartoon Network or Boomerang. Y'all remember Boomerang? Okay, so Justice League would come on, and she was a big Superman fan. She couldn't stand whenever Superman lost, boy. Whole house got in trouble if Superman lost on Justice League. But she was a big Superman fan, so we'd always watch it, and she loved Wonder Woman, and just whenever they were on, everything was gravy. And so I had to kind of find who I was from a DC superhero perspective, and I was like, I feel like I'm pretty fast. Maybe I'll relate with the Flash. And so I used to call myself the Flash, and it was everything was cool, right? Ran track, everything was fun, right? It wasn't until I got a little bit older that I got more exposure, and this is high school, that I got more exposure to more superheroes outside of the DC world. And I got introduced into Marvel. And I was like, oh snap, okay, now we're taking things to the next level. And one person or one superhero in particular, this guy, Captain America, really stood out to me because of the values and the morals that he stood by. And if you don't know the story about Captain America, he was a guy wanting to enlist into the Army, and I'm giving you the short version. Hopefully I don't bore you to death. Wanted to enlist into the Army, was a scrawny, small kid, had no physical attributes. He would be no added addition or bonus to the Army, but he would literally jump on a grenade to save everybody around him. And there was a candidate opening for the super soldier serum to get tested out. People thought he would be a great candidate because of his selflessness. He becomes Captain America, and there's a quote that I live by even till this day that I always put on my locker and kind of model myself. Said, I can't surrender, I don't know how to. And you can see that quote up there, and that's always stood by me whenever I face adversity, whenever I'm going up against something. It's like, man, what would Captain America do, right? I know we say, what would Jesus do? Jesus was perfect, though. So I got to find somebody I could relate to a little bit more. And I obviously live my values based off of Jesus' life, but just another way to compare it. Captain America is not Jesus. Y'all don't take that and run with that. I didn't say that. But I start thinking about whenever times get hard and you got all these villains going up against you per se, right? What would Captain America think? Well, he not going to give up, because he doesn't know what giving up even feels like. So he's not going to be put in that position. And so ever since that moment, I've always been a Captain America fan.
I love it. Fozzy, The Athletic reported that Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton used his NIL money to buy 150 acres of land in Central Texas. And looking at this graphic, I know where you would have spent your NIL money. How many of these pets did you actually own?
Man, I told y'all about AI and the fake photos. That's what I'm talking about right there. That is not me. That is my head, though. I am a huge animal lover, to the dismay of my mother. Ironically, she hated animals. She hated pets. Well, let me not say hate. That's a strong word. She disliked whenever I brought a new animal home, and she didn't know. She wanted to know, and she would tell me to get rid of it. So I wouldn't let her know, so I didn't have to get rid of it, right? That's the workaround there. I used to find bunnies and fish in a little creek. I catch crawfish, put it in a fish tank. I don't know, catch snakes, lizards. Used to try to make a little terrarium at home. I just was one of those eccentric outdoor kids that like to play around and experiment and do stuff. So whenever I finally left under my mother's household and came to University of Texas, I was like, hell yeah, I'm about to get all the animals. Can't nobody tell me nothing now. I pay my own bills, Mom. It's my apartment. And one of the things that I bought that's probably the most exotic that most people either don't want to own or have ever owned was an alligator. Mm-hmm. I had an American alligator, pet gator, and I called him Gladiator the Gator because I thought that name was cool. And I had a buddy that owned a private zoo that bought the gator for me. I ended up, reimbursing him, paying him for it. And I said, hey, man, I'm still black now. Black people don't fool with gators like that. So I'm still black. Once this gator get too big, you're going to have to take it back because it's not going to eat me up. You're going to see me on some sort of news story. Like, no, that's not going to be my story. And I had the gator for probably about 5 months, 4 to 5 months. And he probably was about a foot long whenever I first got him. I used to have to feed him and change the tank out. I housed him in a giant aquarium. And once that 5 month mark hit, I said, hey, Justin, that's his name, Justin, it's time. I said, I can't handle him anymore. I can't grab him safely with my fingers. I don't feel comfortable. It's probably not what Coach Brown also wants me to have in my apartment before training camp gets ready to start up, before the season starts. And so he said, hey, man, I already got the enclosure ready. Whenever you're ready, just drop them on by. So I dropped them back by. But Gladiator's still there to this day.
Gladiator still,
Checked on him. Gladiator's the man. I would never go in this enclosure, but he is the man.
Going back to when you still lived at home, how did you hide all these pets from your mom? Because moms just be walking in our rooms, checking things out, seeing if it's clean and whatnot.
Under the bed.
Under the bed.
It's great. Yeah, people store magazines and other things that you're not supposed to store under your bed. I stored pets.
Well, good job, sir. Good job. Hey, Fozzy, in your role as an ESPN analyst, you have a very condensed time period to learn a lot about teams you are covering each week. Can you tell us what your week looks like?
Yeah, week of preparation actually is very symbolic to whenever I played as a football player. And I think that's why I love being an ESPN analyst and being in the broadcast booth, because it keeps me kind of going from a football perspective. Let's say it's game week, for example, this week. So I get ready to fly out to Fayetteville tomorrow, but my week of preparation, and that's my first game, Alabama A&M versus Arkansas. But my week of preparation typically starts on a Sunday. Sunday, I find out who I'm playing or who I'm calling the game for, who's playing against each other. And I dive right into the film immediately if there's film available. And the first thing that I watch is the most previous game, the most current game that they just played. If I have an opportunity to, I'll try to watch the last 2 games and start building an idea of what that team likes to run. And I got to do this for both teams since I'm calling it from a unbiased perspective. So I usually start with the away team. And the reason why is because on Wednesdays, we typically have a coaches meeting where our production crew, our play-by-play guy, our on-field reporter, and myself as the analyst, we meet with the away team coaching staff. We talk about the schematics and things that they are expecting and changes that they hope to make. And so in order to be prepared for that meeting, I need to make sure I know kind of what I see on film matches up to what that coach says. So Monday, Tuesday, obviously Sunday, those are all heavy prep day, and I'm doing double duty, but Tuesday I typically flip it to the away team a little bit more in preparation for my meeting Wednesday morning, which I actually had this morning before I came up here with Alabama A&M. Thursday I watch more film, and then that's when I do heavy prep work even more on the home team because Friday morning is whenever we go to the facility of the home team. And we have the coaches meeting in person at their facility and get a chance to see the booth that we'll be calling in, fix the layout, and then check out the stadium and some of the things that they do as well. Once the hay is in the barn after Friday, I do a quick little review Saturday morning, watch a couple of football games before I head to the stadium, and I usually get to the stadium about 3 hours before kick. Get myself in my zone, get ready to go with my play-by-play guy and my reporter, and then kick off, and I go perform as if I was preparing for a football game in the same way. Sunday morning, I try to get back on the plane to get home early enough so that I can see the kiddos, hang out with them, watch a little NFL football, and then the cycle restarts. I got my new team. Next week, I got South Florida versus the University of Florida. So I'll go back and watch week 1 and then boom, 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 and build that process and do it on a weekly basis.
So all I'm hearing is analysts have a lot of homework.
A lot of homework, double duty, because typically as a player, you're only preparing for the opposing team. As an analyst, you got to prepare for both teams on both sides of the ball, and not to mention special teams as well.
Hey, Derrick, let's close the panel by putting back up the two pools of teams that could be matching up in the 2025 Valero Alamo Bowl. And do you have a prediction of who you think will be playing in this year's game, Derrick?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 2 teams from that slide are going to be in this year's Valero Alamo Bowl.
Right.
How about that? Yeah, talk about being non-biased, right? But to put it in perspective, we're very fortunate, and I want to give a shout out to Gary and Valero for your title sponsorship since 2007. One of the longest running title sponsors in the bowl business. So let's give it up for Gary and Valero for all that they do for us. So. And really, it's exciting. You look at these matchups and all the possibilities, and to watch the storylines unfold all year long. And my wife, Allison's back here with our grandkids, so she'll be checking me out every weekend. And she's like, "Why are you watching all these games? What does it matter who wins and loses on week 0? Like, come on, every game is important. Live and die by this stuff, right?" But it's really fun, and it's really special at the end of the year when you do get 2 teams to come to San Antonio and experience all that we have to offer. Last year was a very unique experience with BYU and Colorado. All the hype around Colorado certainly was unique. BYU is just a special team, probably the nicest group of people we've ever had in this building. And you knew that Coach Sataki was just loving being the underdog all week long. You could just kind of see him going, "Okay, keep talking about Colorado, keep talking about Colorado." So now I want to answer your question, who's going to play, but I'll turn that over to Fozzy to give us the projections from that perspective. But really, we've got a great pool of teams to draw from, a lot of exciting matchups. You can see some early projections here, some matchups, some teams that haven't been in our game before. It'd be kind of exciting from that perspective. So let's see what happens, and let's play out the season.
Absolutely. So, Fozzy, the graphics will show a wide range of the media projections for the matchup. It's obviously very early, but tell us your thoughts to which teams you see that could be outside the playoffs and playing here in San Antonio.
Yeah, the first one that intrigues me is actually that top one. Nobody's recording, right? So y'all can't come back and say, "Hey, he said this." No, I'm just playing. Kansas State, Washington. I think that would be a cool game. Jed Fish, obviously, looking to have a rebound year after his first year. I believe that team will be much more improved, but just the style of play, they kind of clash against each other, so I think that could be a very interesting matchup. The same way with Texas Tech and USC, both of these teams are projected to be on the rise in a similar type of fashion. Lincoln Riley, he's figured out defense much better, but still trying to find that consistent continuity. Texas Tech with the transfer portal additions that we mentioned in the talented roster that they've been able to assemble. I think that would provide high value and entertainment between 2 teams that could be just right outside of that CFP bubble.
Well, one thing for sure, I can say we should have another exciting Valero Alamo Bowl. And I think that's going to do it for us up here on the stage. Fozzy, thank you for your insight and for coming to San Antonio before you kick off another successful year with ESPN. And congratulations, Derrick, for the Valero Alamo Bowl's tremendous impact each and every year. Let's turn this program back over to Andy.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Most important thing before we wrap things up, Tiff's Treats and Creamy Creations is still open, so as you exit, you can get what you need there. Thanks again to Larry, Fozzy, and Derrick for their insight on another exciting season. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the Valero Alamo Bowl matchup on Tuesday, December 30th on ESPN. If you don't already have bowl tickets, now for the best prices and best selection, you can scan the QR code on the video boards. The next event for the Valero Alamo Bowl is the Community Care Classic Pickleball Tournament. You can sign up for that today before it reaches capacity with our friends from San Antonio Pickleball Association at the courts in the north end zone, or use the QR code to take you to the bowl website. And then next week is a busy one in the Alamodome. This weekend, next Wednesday, following by UTSA's home opener versus Texas State on Saturday, September 6th at 2:30. On behalf of the Valero Alamo Bowl, thank you for attending today's PNC Pigskin Preview with our special appreciation to PNC as title sponsor of our luncheon, as well as today's associate sponsors and our beverage partners. Football's back. Let's have a great season and a great afternoon. Thank you for all being here.